could you speak a little bit to just the scope of your role? Like, so anybody else that might be considering coaching, what exactly, where, what is your position professionally from your, in your words? Who do you manage, and what were you calling in coaching to help you? What were kind of your goals from a leadership perspective of bringing it in?
So I run public affairs, communications, government relations, and sustainability for an agribusiness company a holding company that has businesses that it owns
Hmm.
that span kind of in the food and agriculture space. My team is small because most public affairs teams are.
Yeah.
So we're just 9 people, over $6 billion worth of business. So
Yeah.
it's pretty lean. Um, and then my goals were a couple fold. I wanted to try and become more coach-like and less of a manager throughout my role. I also run the Women's Employee Resource Group,
Hmm.
as I'm the only woman executive in the organization. And I wanted that team to feel like they were getting more out of it than just being a volunteer. I wanted to do something more for those women.
Hmm.
Um, I um, I wanted to discern whether or not I should stay in my job or if I should move on to something else.
Yeah.
I wanted someone to talk with about what I perceived as being a sexist environment and whether or not I was overreacting. So I wanted a sound board, like to kind of give me a different perspective so that it wasn't just my own narrative kind of going through my mind. So those were some of the things I wanted to do with coaching.
Beautiful. And specifically with, and we can kind of go into each one, the with being a female executive in a primarily male dominated, pretty much
Um,
all male dominated space, and know
yeah.
that you wanted to step into greater women's leadership and just inspiring women's leadership in the groups that you're part of.
Uh,
What skills do you feel like you got to strengthen either by experiencing coaching with Kendall and just kind of throughout giving a little bit more energy to that intention, right? Of being
yeah.
able to be more of a coach and a supporter rather than just a manager. What have you learned and what have you started applying?
I think one is just letting go. I learned how to let go a little bit more. The women's group and also all work. I'll be honest with you, it's really important to me. And doing good, thoughtful work, creative work, it's always been important to me. I spent 20 years working at a international agency, and I loved being there because I was with a bunch of people with a lot of that shared value. Like they loved good work too.
Yeah.
And we didn't have to explain it to each other. And I realized that that's not everyone. That's not everyone has that same value. And that's okay. You could still be a contributor to society in your job without having it, but it is hard for me to let that go. But I'm trying to kind of give people the opportunity to run things in the way that they want to. Um, I am really trying to ask more questions than provide answers.
Mm.
I'm not successful there yet. I was going to say modestly successful, not. I'm not. Um, and so some progress, not a ton.
But there's an awareness that that's the skill to be implementing.
Yeah.
And that even in and of itself to go from I'd like to be more of a coach and be able to inspire the leadership in this kind of way. Where do I begin or how do I take those next steps to now
Yeah.
actually be doing that and actively practicing? We can have the self-awareness. Okay, maybe I'm still very aware I'm providing more answers than asking the questions that I'd like to be, and yet I'm now in the process more than I was before. There's more consciousness
Yeah.
there. Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful. Um, Now I know that there was also you had mentioned one of the goals being just around that kind of internal indecision about am I even in the right role right now?
Right.
Is this going to be somewhere that I'm going to kind of sink
Right.
into and move forward with, or are there other decisions that I need to make to kind of reorient
Yeah.
my career in a different direction?
Right.
What role did the coaching with Kendall play and what conclusion have you kind of come to? What support did you receive in that area, do you feel, from the coaching?
Yeah, I would say a couple of things. So one is that we definitely talked about it, and we talked about the role of compensation in all of this, like, and the role of, am I feeling like all of my skills are being utilized?
Hmm.
As spending time as a consultant for the amount of time that I did, I developed a lot of skills that I really like about myself that I don't use today.
Mm.
And I miss that part of me. And so I wanted to weigh that against just other factors. And so we talked about that. I did my own research to look at the compensation piece. So I got some industry research, which was really helpful. And we talked just a little bit about the uh, just the grass is always greener kind of, syndrome of it being like, well, what if I worked where there was more women, or what if I worked where there were more resources, and I didn't have to do everything, or where, um, you know, just different
Hmm.
things that I'm unsatisfied with about my job. And so it was that that process was helpful, just to have someone to listen intentionally and like to listen really in an invested way
Yeah.
for that kind of conversation because you're not talking to anyone at work about that. You're
Right.
not, I mean, my friends are not, I mean, I don't have I don't have a super strong network of female friends who do what I do.
Hmm.
And so I just needed to hash it
Hmm.
out loud. And that was really helpful.
Amazing. So it sounds like she served as a professional sounding board for this like internal conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also it sounds like there were some structure or some guided homework assignments in the sense of research and things to look at and things to bring back to the conversation. So that all of that ended up ultimately bringing you to now it seems like there has there been a decision that's been made for you in that
Yeah, for
in
this
the
kind of
coaching?
thing, I feel really good
Yeah.
about where I am. I feel like it's a good fit for me. I've got other things happening in my life where stability might also be a good thing for
Yeah.
me just in this moment. And so yeah, I feel more peaceful and more, content with where I am, just where I work. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's the impact of now being landed in that peace, that contentment, that resolve, where what used to feel like this undecided, unknown, now there is clarity and a deeper sense of certainty now?
Yeah, I hate uncertain. I mean, everyone might be the same. Maybe more people who are like less structured than I am like it better because it's that excitement wound up in it. But I don't like indecision or like having to wait for something to unfold. I'm waiting right now to figure out where my daughter's going to go to college. It drives me crazy. I'm like, I got planned meetings in October. Which school do I need to look at their fall break? And so I don't do well with that, but so I would say that just feeling good about where I am, it allows me to be more focused on work, which is good. So I'm less distracted with the should I even be here question, and it just goes to how can I do a good job, at this task or this project or whatever. Um, and I think it also helps me feel just more confident in the road that I'm taking, with my life and with my work, just to feel like, okay, you made this decision and you're going to pursue it rather than it being a non-decision. And I guess, you know what I mean by that? Like,
Yeah.
I didn't want to just wake up and be 59 and not like my job and not feel like I did anything and then go, well, oh my gosh, I'm now like an older employee and I've got to find someone who wants to take that on. I
Mm.
wanted to know before then that I was going to feel a sense of satisfaction and gratification as best we can project those things.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be intentional about making a decision to stay rather
Yeah.
than it just being a time where I woke up and said, oh yeah, I'm still here.
I'm still here. Right. Yeah. So that sense of really being in a conscious choice to be here and then being
Yeah.
in your role even more on purpose because you're reconnected with your why and you've evaluated your choices, and now there's not the distracting thoughts like you mentioned, but there's a sense of clear forward focus of how do I just do my best and keep bringing all these skills to the table and thrive here.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing. Now, Mitch, you had mentioned your daughter as well with college, and I know that one of your goals was looking at you just overall balance, right? Your own kind of work-life balance for yourself. Can you speak a little bit to the value that coaching brought to help you um, bring growth to that area as well for your goals?
That was not something we really talked about very
Mm-hmm.
much. I would say that the one time that we did that I recall
Mm-hmm.
was, I said something to Kendall to the tune of, "I'm not going to work very hard this month. I don't have to travel as much. I have a bunch of stuff I got to get done at home, and I'm just going to do my job, and that's going to be it."
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, "I think that's fine." And I do think I just wanted someone to go, you can do that. That's okay. You don't have to be on, your fast drive all the time. So that was just, I think, in that domain, I think it was more just about validation than anything else.
Amazing. So having a space to again just validate that, yeah,
Like
work-life
declare
balance.
it,
Uh-huh.
like, this is what I'm doing. Like, I'll be, it's interesting. I've done that. I just saying that out loud to you just made me realize I was just I go to see a acupuncturist, and she said, the winter is not the time to make resolutions. She's like, it is yin season, and what we need to do is take care of ourselves. And I was like, thank you. I said, I have been feeling so tired and stressed about not working out as hard as I want to. And she goes, let it go. And so
Mhm.
it's the same idea I think I had with work, where I was like, if you're not on all the time, then you're not doing it right. And so it
Mm.
was good. I don't know if there's been very many seasons in my life when I have just said, well, I'm doing it right now, actually, because I said for the next 5 months, my daughter's a senior until she graduates, family comes first. And if that means that I have to leave a meeting early or go late or skip something, then that's what it means. But I'm not going to miss, kind of a milestone event. So I think that all of that, now that I'm kind of saying all that out loud, there was definitely, I think, part of the starting point for that was just being able to say, I'm really tired. I really want to work on other things in my life, and I'm just going to work, but I'm not going to blow it out. And having that be okay.
Yeah, beautiful.
I someone else say it's okay.
Yeah. You already know it, but then having the space for it to land and be like,
Totally.
yes, this is allowed. And I love that acknowledgement too. It's such a paradigm shift just speaking to the winter, right? What it is to come back into more cyclical living because all of the New
Yeah.
Year's resolutions around Q1 and getting started and let's go. And we're in the depth of the darkest, like quietest, most yin internal
Yes.
energies. And it's like the New
Yes.
Year's isn't until the spring equinox. It's not until
Correct.
mid-March. Like we're very much in that
I'm
take.
hungry.
Totally. I think being able to re-acknowledge that winter, January, February is bear cave time for ourselves, for our families, has a lot of value to bring into the professional
Yes.
context and awareness again.
I agree. I agree.
Beautiful. I'm curious, how would you describe Kendall's coaching style, just in the way that you experienced her?
She's incredibly supportive. She is, just she brings in a lot of her spirit of just like her positivity, her good energy. I think one of the things that she really brings to someone like me that was dealing with just situations and people, in a lot of ways was her background in counseling and just trying to, ask me, but in enough of a non-therapy way that it didn't feel like it was 100% therapy, but to go, even if this was 2% true, could you acknowledge, that piece of it? Even if you think the other person's completely wrong, what if 2% of what they're saying is true? And could you just, recognize that? It's like, yes, I am not that small of a person. Yes, I can do that. And so I think just having um, her positive energy, she's a terrific listener. Her guidance on how to acknowledge others
Mm.
in a way that will be meaningful to them. I thought, oh, that was really helpful.
Is there a specific example of that, of where the being able to acknowledge others came through in a more meaningful
Well, in this whole, like, so right when we started, I had a situation with another person in this women's ERG. And, I was fired up. Like, I mean, in a too emotional of a way, because other people got involved and kind of felt like I got the short end of the stick. But what Kendall was saying was, even if you disagree with 98%, if 2% of this could be true, can you own that? And I'm like, I can own all of it, but I just need time to
Mhm.
get there. And so just processing that. And she was, you know, it's easy for someone like me to say to someone else, like, just get over it. Just like issue an apology and get on with it. Like, it's going to make your life easier. But I think, Kendall has the wherewithal and the patience to go, okay, take your time and then like get there. And I needed that. And then we kind of role played
Hmm.
my apology, which was also helpful because, like I said, I was having a hard time feeling it in
Hmm.
my heart that my head knew I needed to say something. And so I didn't want to come off as conflicted in the apology. I wanted to come off as, I wanted to, I was sincere in my head.
Hmm.
It's just that the emotional side of me was just like, you don't deserve this.
Hmm.
And, which is both things can be true. I can owe someone an apology and maybe I didn't deserve the level of outcry.
Yeah.
So that was really where I came from was like, you can still have that and you can still hold on to that and be resentful about that, but
Hmm.
you can still issue someone else the piece through an apology. So that was a specific example of where we kind of got to so I could get over myself.
Beautiful.
Right?
Beautiful.
That's about all I'm trying to do here.
I love
Get
that.
out of my way.
So Kendall's holding the space for take your time and we're gonna get there as well. The
Yeah.
patience and the
Yeah.
accountability to ultimately help you get to that result.
Yeah.
And it sounds like holding space and that role playing was a helpful technique that came through for really just expanding your capacity to be with nuance and contrast and kind of the paradox of both seeing, where somebody's at and knowing the right thing to do and to do it genuinely, but also without invalidating the other parts of you that might feel a different way about it as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. Like, and if you think about where else would I go with something like that? Okay, if you go to a friend, they're just going to be on your side.
Mhm.
They're going to be like, hey, girl, you're right. That other person, you need to just hold on to that bitterness or whatever. And then, you think like your therapist is going to have, I don't know what that would have looked like, but, so it was great to have that hybrid of
Mhm.
approach of just like, I know enough to know I need this. This is a situation I need to deal with. I also know myself to know that I'm going to resist it. I'm going to resist the resolution that I know is imminent. And so,
Mhm.
how do I get through again? How do I get past my own stuff? Yeah, all of that was really helpful.
Beautiful. I love
Yeah.
that. I'm curious, who might you recommend Kendall's style of coaching to and why? Like, who else would you think would be a good fit for this kind of support?
It's definitely, I think, people who have challenging interpersonal relationships at work.
Hmm.
So, like, if you've got a crappy boss or your colleagues are backstabbers, I think she would be terrific there and helping you discern not only how to navigate in the moment, but then whether or not the job is enough of whatever the other things are
Hmm.
to withstand it. Like, because
Hmm.
sometimes we all have to like do our adult things. And so sometimes you are not in a wonderful, creative, dynamic, supportive environment, and you go, well, okay, this is what it is. And I just think she would be really good at helping someone through that process.
Beautiful. Thank you. That's
Yeah.
super clear. And if you had a colleague that were considering working with Kendall, what would you specifically tell them?
Well, again, I think it's like, you know, take your inner person, take the stuff that you're having challenges with as far as relationship with colleagues, as far as like how you can, the relational pieces of your job writ large. So if you're looking to grow your network, if you're looking to have, get better feedback from your boss, if you're looking for, um, uh, how to find a mentor, like anything that involved the relational dimensions of work, I think she would be terrific at that. And so I would tell my colleague to like focus on that,
Hmm.
and let her guide you through some of those issues.
Mm, amazing. So also then equipping them kind of that the coming with their own intention of what to work on with her,
Yes,
knowing what her strengths are and what
right.
really the biggest value pieces were
That's
for you.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And just
that's
I guess
right.
in a few sentences, how might you kind of summarize the ROI of investing in this kind of support?
Well, I think if you're someone like me who felt very lonely, in the office place, who doesn't have the kind of professional network that warrants real, honest dialogue, then you need a partner to go work through challenging circumstances with.
Mm,
And, you know, I think that the ROI for me was feeling more calm, more clear about how to manage some of the more challenging aspects of my job. Yeah.
excellent. It's so beautiful to hear this, and thank you so much for your honesty and your thoughtfulness. I can really just feel you um, really sitting with the questions that I'm asking and sharing from your heart too, in your embodied experience of what it was like to work with her. So thank you so much for making the time on your calendar today and for sharing this conversation this morning.
Thank you. It's nice to meet you.